I'm Gabe Lullo, and welcome to the Do Hard Things podcast. We're talking to go-to-market leaders and entrepreneurs who have conquered the challenges, the hustle, and the grind. Get ready for real talk, real insights, and no fluff.
But the hardest thing in the world right now is not actually closing deals, it's actually getting somebody's attention.
If you don't have that hook in that first 5 to 10 seconds, guess what? They're going to scroll to the next one.
You need to go in and you need to make it sound like yourself. That's the biggest piece of the puzzle. And I promise you, we can all tell.
The people that are trolls and the people that are haters never done the thing that you're doing.
I love doing this podcast because I get a front row seat to some of the greatest minds in sales.
Gone are the days of saying stay in your lane. When you're an executive leader and you're an enterprise-wide leader, there are no lanes. You've got to be partners.
Curiosity is like when the type of questions you ask is sometimes the value that you bring.
I need you to tell me when you're ready to buy or what you're ready to do. And I think it's changed so much into like adding more value. And if you're not doing that, then you're definitely going to come off as desperate.
High pressure selling is like a dinosaur tactic at this point.
No parent is like, oh, you should be a salesperson when you grow up, right? Everyone's like a doctor, lawyer, whatever crap. It's never salespeople.
It's not your job to motivate people. It's your job to find motivated people.
It's not cockiness. It's not arrogance. It's confidence knowing I know this and I know that I can help you.
From where I started to where I am today is all because I learned how to sell.
And there's too many people who have only been doing this for 5 freaking minutes. Sit down, close your mouth, actually go out there and get yourself beat up, then come back and tell me if something is dead or not.
That is exactly why I started this podcast, because right there, that's the epitome of doing hard things.
Welcome back to the Do Hard Things podcast with Lexi, Gabe, and Nicole. Today's guest is redefining what it means to sell in the modern B2B world. Gal is the CEO and co-founder of Aligned, a company pioneering the idea that top sellers don't push deals, they guide buying processes. With 17 years of sales experience, he's seen it all, the chaos, the stakeholders, the stalled deals, and realized that the biggest problem wasn't sales, it was buying. That's what led him to build Aligned, a digital sales room and client portal that helps sales teams simplify the buying journey, orchestrate internal champions, and close deals without chaos. Gal, welcome to the show.
Gail, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm so excited you're here. And I'm just going to dive right into it, man, because, most sellers are trained to sell hard, right? To close. But you stay, really on top of reps and say, don't sell, really help buyers buy versus just selling and closing deals. So how did you land on that insight? And when did it really become clear that the old way just wasn't working anymore?
Yeah. So for me, it actually started. So a lot of what I'm doing right now and talking on LinkedIn really is related to why we built Align. But the whole idea and this question specifically really started way before the company. So I was VP sales and working with my co-founder actually at the same company. And we were working really complex sales motion, high 150K ACV sales cycle, selling an innovative product, retail companies. And it was always, we're always obsessed as many leaders out there with the question of what makes the top 1% tick, right? Like every sales leader can relate. You want to hire them, you want to coach them, you want to build really the top reps, top performers. And there was this one deal that really I will never forget, where one of our AEs basically closed 440K deal in 90 days from outbound. Like from the moment we got the first meeting, outbound, 90 days to close. So really incredible deal. And basically that sales process felt like there was just no us. She project managed the deal, used after every call. She had this workflow where she sent a summary of here are the next steps that we still have left, check boxes. She used Google Slides at all the time, kind of she updated with the business case and with relevant materials and the scope of the POC that she ran. She was just kind of thinking, it was all so deliberate. She connected our CEO with their CEO because she saw that their CEO is thinking about an innovative product that they could do with us. So basically, there are a lot of these smaller elements that just kind of felt really tailored and really unique. And then at the end of the call, it was this Friday afternoon. Sorry, at the end of the deal, when the deal closed, it was this Friday afternoon, and we closed her. We asked her, "What did you do differently?" She said, "It's actually, it felt like it's the first time that I'm not selling. I'm buying I'm providing a buying process that you'd pay a premium for." Eh, and that's kind of where when it clicked. We understood that basically the top reps, they're not really selling. They're not really, it's not about pushing. They're becoming that extension of the buying group, right? They're thinking all the time about not what I need to do right now next to push the deal forward. Rather, they're thinking about, what is my buyer doing right now? And what are the challenges, and who are they speaking with? And what are all of these different things that are happening when I'm not there in the room? So, really, in their buyer's mind, they're now becoming your partner, right? It's not me against you, right? For anyone that can't see right now what I'm doing with my hand, it's not right one fist in front of each other. It's really us working together towards the same direction, because that's kind of what I'm conveying, right? My actions, my intent, that's what it conveys, and I'm so valuable to the journey that value really feels like, wow, I would pay for someone to project manage the deal for me like that. So that's the idea, and that's I think what it means to be a top performer.
I love that. It's so true. Even myself, when I started in sales, and even when I hop on sales calls right now, if you can approach it from being more of a consultant to just going it and really taking the side of, I want to help you and provide a sale, provide a tool that makes sense for you. If it does, and really be that consultant, I think you can get so much further than just going in and trying to bulldoze and sell everybody. So I love that story. It's really great. Gail,
Yeah.
with, over 17 years of experience in the field, you've obviously seen every sale from many different angles. And so to start, I'd love to hear, about your very first B2B sales role and what that was like.
Yeah. So I had two basically two periods going into B2B. One was B2B to C. Basically, I started in telco, right? Not tech, not SaaS. It was half tech, you can call it. Basically selling voice over IP solutions like 18, 19 years ago, I think, or almost 20 years ago by now. And then that kind of, just got me exposed. It was at Orange, right? So it's a pretty big telco company. And that got me exposed to the whole concept and get excited. I always saw there were the more advanced sellers there that just earned 4 times more than we did. And they were selling things that are much more technical, and it was always technical, and that kind of got me excited. Wow, like this can be achieved, and I loved the energy. I loved everything. I became a team leader there, but then all of that kind of drove the transition really into tech sales. So my first tech sales role, which is I think kind of the key thing here, maybe for this example, was small startup, had a head of sales and another AE, and she wanted to bring her kind of other second AE in. And 6 months after entering the role, so I jumped straight from that telco role into an AE position. And this was when SaaS was just like like people were just starting to talk about SaaS. There were, I think, 2 SaaS companies that I read some examples, some playbooks on what they did. So there was nothing to learn online. Like there was nothing, right? The inside sales concept or SaaS sales and selling subscription, it was all different. And 6 months after I started, uh, the CEO, my CEO saw the potential, and he wanted to, and there were some issues here, and basically he promoted me to be the head of sales. And I'm really young, like I don't know anything, and I now need to, I did manage, a team and everything, but Now to build processes, to think about forecasting and managing up and managing down and all these different things, that was one of the hardest things that I've ever done. But I really believe in it, by the way. I really believe in uh, the best way to start, I think, in sales is really these really hard roles, like the name of your podcast, right? I think they really, you know, get you to learn things the hard way, to make the mistakes at the beginning. Like going into a startup, you don't have a brand, you typically evangelize, you typically sell into a new concept, right? A new market. You have no leads, you generate your leads a lot of times. So it's rough. It was really tough, but yeah, it shaped me.
So you said rough, you said tough, and I think you used our favorite word hard like 6 times in
Yeah.
the answer. So I I have to always, when I always ask these questions and we get on the show, my story is simple. I grew up around me, all my family around me were all, physical blue collar workers, physical laborers. They smelled like fish coming home from the restaurant, bartending, or they got dirt under their hands because they're doing construction or building things. And I was the first one in my family that actually got paid to talk. And I just like blew my mind that you can actually make money talking and solving problems versus having to lift heavy things. So we created this podcast because, to your point, like what we do every day is still really, really hard, but we're not physically lifting heavy things to do our jobs, right? So take me through, and we're talking origin story here. So take me through that because you've led teams, from 1 million to $100 million scaling, and scaling is intense scaling is what you're great at, and it's really difficult. So what's an inflection point for you there that really got you prepared? Because you said someone took, you under their wing, or someone promoted you, and someone looked and saw potential in you, but then you kind of had to figure it out. And there isn't schools to go to
Yeah.
learn how to be a seller or a VP of sales. So what was some of those inflection points when you're scaling that team specifically or other teams?
Yeah. Eh, I think one of the biggest, most challenging moments were when I was VP sales. eh, and it was all going well at the beginning. You're hiring your first AEs, SDRs, and they're close to you. They're mimicking you, right? They're doing everything that you do, and you can also monitor a lot. And then, it was back then where triple, triple, double, double, double was impressive. That was the path. Today, it's bring me 10x growth. Um, so, we were going at that rate, and then, yeah, you need to grow even faster next year. And now that means hiring a lot of people at once, SDRs, AEs, and everything. So we did that. And I thought I was doing well, and I'm hiring the right people from the right companies, but a lot of it just failed. And basically, I got to a point where I remember this, like we were at the beginning of the year, after the new hires, bunch of new hires went through the first few months, and wow, quota attainment is at the bottom. And I have this one rock star AE who's crushing it, few others doing well, and then a few there, wow, like it's just completely different level. And now what do you do, right? Like that's how the capacity is built. Like half of the team basically. Um, how do I get through the year? So basically, I decided to downsize the team. Realize that I have the pipeline. If I can take the existing reps, increase ACV, and get them to just close more of these deals and at bigger rates, they're all gonna overachieve like crazy, but we'll get to the overall number. And we did it. And I think it happened to me a few times later as well. Not the exact same thing, but I think whenever you see where you're at that point, always making that decision to do a little bit of a, going backwards in order to go forward faster. I think it's always a good decision, and make it fast. Don't wait too much, because then then it's all, then you're just losing. Okay. But you can correct course sometimes by going backwards, but making it a fast backwards decision. And then, yeah, it's always for the best, always.
So I guess to that point, has there been, I'm sure you've had this, but, a pivotal moment where, everything kind of clicked for you and or where you faced a real challenge that made you rethink your approach?
Yeah, I think there's and I posted about it recently, so it comes up quickly. There was this nightmare deal, really. Like you have everyone has deals that they're just gonna never forget. So it's a deal that shaped me, and it's the deal that I learned um, to basically say no to the deal at the end, to walk away. Okay, it's the first time that I really walked away and from a big deal. So I was sales director, and we were working this deal with the company. I wouldn't say where they were, but it's like a region they're harder to work with. Uh, and we're going through a POC, and that POC just never ended. Okay, it's like it extended again and again and again. They brought in new stakeholders, and we agreed on the scope. We did things pretty much. We had a good playbook. We created a scope, created a timeline, agreed on where we start, where we end, and what we do in the middle. But they just extended again and extended again, extended again, added new stakeholders, changed the scope a little bit. And every time we made the hard conversations and try to challenge them and get it on the right track. We couldn't. Uh, it took a lot of time. Eventually, we're able to get that POC into the technical win. But then they were still checking a few things. So we tried to push it towards, okay, let's just start. It looks like we passed this POC. Let's just get the commercial locked and everything. We started commercial discussions, but then we agreed, okay, we'll go. We said, okay, if we just go there, we travel, we meet them face to face. We meet also the COO, who was the key person there. We're gonna probably be able to get everyone in the room. We're gonna be able to agree and move forward. Because they said in general, they want to do it. The POC was successful. They still are checking a few more things, but yeah, if you can come here, if we can do this. So we basically flew across the world, and yeah, just for this deal, it was a potential 500K deal, and and basically we get there and we spend like 4 or 5 hours with the person in the room. We locked ourselves in a room and wrote things on the board and everything. And even, I'm sorry, another important detail, before we started that 4-hour ride, he said that the COO that was supposed to meet us couldn't join. Maybe he'll come in later to say hi, and don't worry about it. I can make a decision. Okay, you and I can agree and we can move forward. So we're going through these 4 hours, and then we get to the end and we agree. We go out to approve something with our CEO. We tell him, hey, this is the last thing. We get this done, and then we're moving forward. And then we go into the back into the room, and the VP, the one that we're speaking with, basically says, hey, sorry, my COO wants to talk with you. He has something. So then I knew, hey, we screwed up. Okay. So we go into his office, and our luggage basically is waiting in the hotel. We have a flight later that day, and he knows that we have flight later that day. And he comes in, hey, look, we're close to making a final decision. A minute ago, he just told us this is what we need in order to move forward, and we flew all the way there. But before we make that final decision, right? This is what I need. I'm concerned because the POC took a lot of time. I need an exit clause. We never improved an exit clause at this stage of the company. We're pretty high in ARR at that point, and it was a no-go. And he had another ask. So we basically at that point told him can't do it, and he didn't fold. and we just walked away from the deal. We thought like, hey, sorry, I can't stay here anymore. I don't remember exactly what I said at that point, but basically we walked away, and I understood that, there are for a good buying experience to be created, you need to tango, right? And there are certain situations where learning to say no in a sales process like that really saves you time, save you energy, and makes you later on, if that deal would have closed, we might have been able to, push more, negotiate more. I don't know what. It would have been the worst customer. Okay. CS would have hated us. Finance probably would have hated us. Product would have requests, right? Product team would have hated us. So yeah, that's I think one of the biggest moment that kind of shaped a lot of the way that I approach deals today.
Okay, let's double down on this because there's so much to unpack, and it's so important for people to hear what you
Long
just
story.
said, right? Like, I think you call it the spaghetti bowl, if I'm correct, right? Of deals where you got multiple stakeholders. You have it's a very confusing process. There's an unlimited asks from the buyer. So what I guess here's the question. What does that real cost look like of that chaos? Because we see it too, right? We try to bend over backwards for clients to get the deal. And then we realize, and we know we're doing it to ourselves, that this is going to be like the worst demanding client ever. And usually it's those ones that aren't even worth it financially at the end, right? So walk me through that. Like, what's their real cost of dealing with all of those? I believe you call it the spaghetti bowl. I've heard you say that before. Take me through that.
Yeah, the real cost, you mean on the sales team?
Yeah, or yeah, for the sales team, for the CS team, for specifically spending all that time in going after that deal, knowing that at the end of the day, it's probably not going to be worth it, but you're spending all this money up front anyway, and it's not even going to be a good deal, if not a deal at all.
Yeah, so I think the spaghetti ball process, right, refers a lot to when I mentioned that phrase, I mentioned it really in the context of how complex buying is today, right? And what does it mean and what we're all missing when we were thinking about the buying uh, about sales is that complexity. So I I think that if the question is related to the cost for the sales team of going and managing a tough customer that will never close, then yeah, we just talked about it, right? So it's the cost for CS, and it's a customer that will be very hard to manage, a customer that will impact the roadmap, that will all the time ask questions and complain about the product. It will just drain everyone's resources. But I think if we go back to the concept of the spaghetti ball process, then it's the idea, and I think what most salespeople are missing is what the buyer is going through is basically a lot more than what you see, right? 95% of the buying journey, based on how Gartner analyzes it, is not spent with you in a competitive comparison scenario, right? So you only get, like, there's so much going on. There are decision meetings, there are requirement building, there's the RFP, there's building the short list, there's the internal legal processes. There's so much going on. And that spaghetti ball process, it basically is a way to describe the fact that it's really not about the deal. Really stops being about you selling your product. It's more about you managing the internal consensus building. Okay, that buying group that goes through all of these steps, all of these things that are going on, really becomes a dysfunctional buying group. um, and that's what you need to have in your mind as a seller when you go through the sales process.
Yeah, you said it earlier. It's not more of selling; it's more of project management,
Yeah.
right? So it's not the job of a seller anymore. It's really a project management
Yep.
role at that point, right?
Exactly.
So walk me through, like, what's that mindset shift that separates reps who are just consistently, losing from those who are losing momentum also in creating that project management, because most sellers aren't trained to do this, right? They're sold, they're taught to sell, close the deal, get the right people in the room, find the pain, solve the pain, get someone excited. But then you have this entire project management that they are responsible for, and two, to get it across the finish line.
Yeah. So I think I think that the issue is that most sales teams, sales processes, um, look at the sales meeting as the heart of the deal, and the sales process is typically the names also of the meetings, right? It's the discovery, demo, proposal. So it's our activities. So we taught ourselves and got into the habit of progress means we're going from our meetings, right, to another meeting, and that's progress. And it also ties into forecast. And don't get me started on that. It's one of the biggest problems as well that we tie that into forecast. Um, and then we just got into the habit of this is the heart. We just need to drive someone from A to B. And what happens? What about? Let's give you an example. So if someone moves into a trial, right? A lot of companies have a trial or a POC in the middle, a lot of different names for it. So if someone started that trial, does that make them at a more advanced, uh, higher likelihood to close than someone who has not started a trial, but maybe achieved full alignment that they want to buy and full understanding of what the problem is? And maybe the one that has started a trial still don't have internal alignment. Multiple people are not looped into the trial that should have been, and they see the problem in a different way, right? So I think so we got used to really thinking about it in a linear way, but the buying process, we said, is a spaghetti ball process. It's not linear, right? It doesn't work like that. It goes backwards and forward. So really what the top reps do, they really break the rules well. Okay, they know the sales process. They know that a trial is really a good way to drive validation, but they all the time make decisions throughout the process based on the understanding of where the buyer is at right now at this point in time, right? So they all the time that's how they think. They think about how do I project manage the buying journey right now instead of pushing towards the step in the sales process. And that problem also comes in from the top where you have that need for predictability. So you as a sales leader, you want forecast accuracy. You want everyone to run the exact same steps. You want you want to standardize. You want to make sure that everyone understand a very, very clear and clean process. You always tell them from there you push to this and then you push to that. But that's just not how buying works. Reps don't want to be put in a box, and buyers can't be put in a box. So that's the difference first from a mindset point of view, and then from an actual activities. The best reps that are really are buyer enablers, right? They're thinking about how I create a better experience and how I just enable the decision process. They're doing things like building business cases. They're multi-threading, they're not thinking, oh, I have 10 people right now joining a call, I'm multi-threaded. No, it's just more risk. Okay, until you created real threads, you isolated them. So their best reps are thinking about these things. They're thinking about how do I right now speak with Joe, who's been quiet the entire conversation and on his phone 24 times. And I need to create that thread because Joe is the CTO of the company. So they're thinking about the internal consensus building, multi-threading for influence, business case building, using mutual action plans, all of these elements, champion building, working with champions well, preparing champions for the internal discussions. These are the elements of really good selling.
I couldn't agree more. Let's maybe switch gears into the content side of this. So, you're a big advocate for content and not marketing content, but deal level, buyer enabling content. And so for you and from your perspective, what's the difference?
Yeah, I think that most sales content is really created from, there's a common theme here. You'll see it's really created with the sales process in mind, not the buying journey in mind. So if you look at the typical case study, it's a lot even I'll start with the most simple one, right? The case study, very much about here's the win, here's the impact. But me as a buyer, what do I need when I look at a case study? How did someone approach evaluating? How did they look at risk? What are really the challenges that they went through when implementing the solution? What were really the kind of the deep challenges and the business case, and how eventually they, what were the results that they saw? Like, not a lot of case studies go that deep, right, to that level. And a lot of the content really that when we look at it from a seller eyes, from a sales enablement and not a buyer enablement, it's really a lot about that. It feels more marketing, and it's a lot. And it's not that we don't need these things. We probably need them more at the top of the funnel to drive leads. But down funnel, really, we need to be very deep, very like it's about precision, right? It's about they don't need a white paper about the category or write about what do you need to do in order to buy a digital sales room, right? Our category. They need a requirement document that helps them do that job to be done right now as a buyer. My job to be done as a buyer right now is to think about what do I need when I now approach vendors or loop or go into other vendors after meeting this one in order to be at a good, confident point of comparison. I start thinking about my decision criteria. So, right, the sales enablement content or a seller focused mindset, internal focused, really builds that product ebook or product guide, and then no one reads it. Okay, but good content would be that spreadsheet, right? So so this is just going deep with an example. If I'll go a bit wider, so it could be business case templates, cost of inaction templates, a total cost of ownership, a requirement documents, as I said, some checklists, and just overall the regular content built in a better way, like case studies built in a better way, a deck that's built in a customized way that you can tailor it to different parts of the process. A POC, there's a POC plan or success plan. These are all different elements.
So let's talk about content from a different perspective. You're huge on content just as a founder and a CEO, and you have a huge following, and you're posting a lot. Where do you, as an advisor to your future founders, who's just starting out in this game, should they be spending time on podcasts right now? Should they be spending time on LinkedIn right now and posting right now? Like, what's your position as a CEO and founder, having such a strong voice and following on LinkedIn to these new founders who are starting their own businesses right now?
Yeah. So I'll go back to the word that you like so much. This is actually the hardest thing that I've done at Aligned, more than founding the company and anything else. It's hard to crack. So, but it's one of the things that were the most impactful. Okay, at the same time, and what makes it so hard is first, you expose yourself, like everyone has that at the beginning, like before the click send, finding your voice, being out there. Like, what if I start and then I stop? Like, there are so many questions, like that's monkey talk or self internal talk, right? um so yeah, so you go through all of that at the beginning, and then the thing is, you just don't know if it's working until a long time. And it's not that one day, bam, you just get a lot of leads. It's just there's a compounding effect, right? And you need to develop the internal skills of how to measure it. And you need to understand and learn over time that this is not about leads. There are so many things about it. Like 2 weeks ago, I had a conversation with our head of marketing, and she told me, I don't know how you do it, but the quality of people at this company is just insane. Like we had this quarterly summary, we had this direct talk, feedback to each other, and she told me, "Hey, how do you do it? Like what? Like you're really spot on. All of our management, like they're all top notch." I told her like I almost didn't hire anyone. Like all they all reached out to us. They all have been following us. Like there's no AE that works at Aligned that has not used the line before, has been following us for more than a year. Uh, so and people is everything. That's what's building our company right now. And more than just hiring them, it's what's retaining them. They're just everything. It's all the time. There's action. This big post, and someone wrote about us, and something big's happening because of LinkedIn. So it's retaining them. It's making them feel all the time that we're a top company, top brand. We're definitely winning because of that in the competition. It's helping in active deals. So I can multi-thread more easily. I can send a message to a CRO, and they'll know who I am. I just this week, I got a message from a CEO of one of the biggest sales tech companies, which is the best for us to sell to because it's good seller to seller virality. And he wanted to consult with me about something related to LinkedIn. I gave him, we started chatting a lot. Then at the end, he said, "Hey, you know what? I really like the product. I think we should start looking into it." Okay. So there's these all the time. You have these insane opportunities. We got CRO angel investments from me posting on LinkedIn in one call. They just reached out. People wanted to invest. And in one call, like no process, they came in and joined as investors and advisors. So there's just so much going on. And then I think another thing that people are thinking about is, wait, but how isn't it marketing's job now? Okay, like think about any think about the CEO of OpenAI, right? About Elon Musk, right? About uh, um, all of these top CEOs. Are they just CEOs all day? No, they're on Twitter a lot of the time, right? They're on blogs, they're interviewing for the news. So it's next level. You see them all the time on YouTube in these interviews. Why? Because you're the face of the company. That's your role. Your role is to, build the vision, um, speak with customers, speak to with the market, right? Evangelize the story behind your company, meet with investors. So all of these things are part of that. You're right. You're out there in the field, and I'm testing messaging all the time, all the time. So there are things that we want to develop sometimes, like 4 or 5 months into the future, like 4 months, 4 or 5 months before we're about to develop them. I'll start testing the waters with some new narratives, see how people respond to, and it helps me build the messaging, and it helps us also get early validation about the product. So it's that, right? It's that's the idea. It's speaking to your audience at scale. That's how modern business is done today. So yeah, do it.
Yeah. So I mean, you've recruited all your people, right? So your team is coming through LinkedIn inbound. You brought in investors, and you brought in was literally one call closes on clients, all through LinkedIn content. And I think that was the best. And so we do it also, obviously. And at the end of the day, it's a game changer for us. It helps us, push along the sales cycle. It helps us, attract some incredible talent. It also helps us, just have that trustworthiness and that social proof. But to your point, it's hard. When I was approaching my team with this, I said, listen, we're essentially going to take like our Slack conversations internally and put it on LinkedIn. So for everyone can see our communication, our wins, our losses. We're going to be a documentary docu-series essentially of employees. So instead of, telling your spouse and kids at the end of the dinner, at the dinner table at the end of the day, how your day was, you're going to tell the camera, we're going to put it on the internet. And so like, that was a big shift for us, and we've been following, your lead. So thank you for doing it. But I just thought that was so great for founders to hear. So, You said people, you know, we're in the people business too. We're also in this really tech craziness going on of AI.
Mm.
And so how are you balancing AI, right, and people in this new world that we are living in?
Yeah, so it's a race. Um, I'm right now one of the things I have all the time these topics that I'm really diving deep into, and then I have my morning run and I'll listen to a lot of things. So that's a big top of mind right now. We want to be at a point where just everyone across the company is using agents, like everything, like that as much as possible. It's that race. Like I know, and we're having it starts with having the conversations first with everyone. Everyone needs to understand that the world is changing so fast, and what made you great in your role today won't be what will make you better at your role tomorrow, not because of promotion, just because the ground behind all of us is shaking, right? So we all need to reskill. That's the message. Everyone have to reskill. I need to reskill. You need to reskill. Our investors need to reskill. Everyone needs to reskill. Now, we don't want to. It's a little bit of a tough love talk. We don't want to scare anyone. We're not sending a message of, hey, if you won't use AI and automate half of your day, you're gonna be out. It's just the nature of the market will work this way that we have investors. They're gonna say, hey, why do you have a 2 to 1 SDR ratio? Like today, one SDR could feed 5 AEs. That's the new benchmark. Okay. And why does the mid-market AE have a $1 million quota? They should have a $2 million quota. Okay. There's AI for that. And by the way, we're building that AI, our company. So we have to be at the front, right? So it's coming from there. And then that's going to set a new benchmark. And if we can't hit the benchmark, it means that your targets are going to be higher and you're going to fail at your targets, right? If you as a developer now need to produce 10x the speed, you're not delivering. If you're as a designer need to design 10x faster, you're not delivering. So these are all of the things. Now, it's not a scare message. It's actually a positive message. That's how I communicate it. And I tell them, and I really believe it, hey, we're so focused on that you have right now an opportunity to use Aligned to reskill. So even if you're thinking about leaving, use us. You can use us to reskill because we're hyper focused on that. Our CTO right now turned himself into a 8 sorry, NA10 NA10, right? The workflow company. So he turned himself into an expert in 10A10, and he's building these workflows right now for everyone. And we're gonna hire someone in-house that's gonna be full-time doing this. So we're telling people you're gonna get all of these resources. We're gonna help you reskill, but you have to be proactive.
So, in conclusion, for AEs, founders, sales leaders that are listening, what's one hard thing they could do this week to start aligning with their buyers?
I think stop thinking about what do I need to do right now in order to get this deal closed, but what do my buyer need right now in order to make a confident decision? What are they really, really going through? I think it's hard to get to that mindset because a lot of teams are just used to pushing, let's make that move and let's make that move. But if you really kind of stop and start adopting more of what's their internal step right now and what are they potentially concerned about, and what's going to block this on their side internally, then that's just a much easier way to plan your moves. And I think that's the kind of basis, that's the fundamental here.
Awesome. Gail, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate what you do, what you stand for. Who is the best person for to reach out to you, and what's the best way for them to contact you?
Yeah. I'm on LinkedIn, of course. That's the main place you can find me on. So yeah, if anyone's interested in partnerships, of course, in Aligned, if anyone wants to hear more about what we're doing, especially the last thing that I said around 10xing your reps using AI, then that's where we're going. So hit me up.
Awesome. Thank you, Gab. We appreciate you being on the show. Have a good one, buddy.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.